Everybody doing today? My name's Ellen, and I know it's weird not seeing Jay here to greet you, but Jay's actually on the other side of the screen today, telling you the story of dive ninjas. But before we begin, we have a few announcements. So on April 20th, we have Matt coming in from Ocean Culture Life to give a talk, so you don't want to miss that. And then on April 21st, we have Marta talking about the secret life of sharks all the way from Costa Rica. So make sure you don't want to miss that. We also have some courses coming up. So today, actually, right after this talk, we're doing the Coral Reef Conservation Specialist course. So we still have a few spots left on that course. So if you want to take part in that course, just message me in the chat, and I can send you the link to sign up. On April 22nd, we have a Project Aware intro to ocean conservation. So if you're interested in getting more involved in ocean conservation, be sure to sign up for that one. And actually, next weekend, on next Saturday, we have a PADI enriched air nitrox course going on. I normally have to take it into the dive shop, but right now in these quarantine times, it's adapted for online. So make sure you get signed up for that one. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Jay, to tell your story.
Good morning. How are you, Ellen? Let's get started. Give me 1 second to set up. Let's see. All right. Perfect. So, how is everybody today? I hope everyone's out there is okay and healthy and well and all that. Maybe enjoying Saturday a little bit today. Try to get outside. Maybe if you can, go for a walk in the backyard or something. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to start today's talk with a quote. Many of you have maybe seen this quote before. It's a quote by Lauren Isley. You might have seen it on maybe social media or shared it yourself or anything like that. If you've ever read any of Lauren's books, he has this kind of uncanny ability to combine science and humanity in a really beautiful and poetic kind of way. For those that don't know him, he was an American anthropologist and naturalist, as well as an educator, philosopher, writer, et cetera, et cetera. His list of accolades is quite extensive, to say the very least. He's got over like 30 honorary degrees. His books have sold millions of copies worldwide, and so on and so on and so on. But I think he's best summed up by 2 awards that he received shortly before he passed in 1977. One was from the Boston Museum of Science for his outstanding contribution to the public understanding of science, and another from the Humane Society for his significant contribution for the improvement of life and the environment in the United States. But why am I telling you this? Why are we even talking about this guy right now? So Lauren used to tell a story about something that had happened to him one day, and I would like to share it with you. But it makes a bit more sense if you know a little bit about him before we get started. So the story goes that once upon a time, there was this wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. The wise man had a habit of walking around on the beach a little bit before he would begin his work to kind of clear his head. One day, as he was walking along the shore, he looked down to the beach and saw a human figure moving like a dancer. He kind of smiled and laughed to himself at the thought of someone dancing in the sun during the day. But he thought he would walk up faster to catch this peculiar person and see what was actually going on. As he got closer, he noticed the figure was that of a young man. And that this young man, he wasn't dancing at all. He was actually reaching down to the shore and picking up small objects and throwing them into the ocean. Lauren moved closer and called out, "Good morning. May I ask what it is that you're doing?" And the young man paused. He looked up at him and he replied, "I'm throwing starfish into the ocean." Lauren, somewhat startled, said, "I must ask then, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" To this, the young man replied, "Well, the sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them in, they're going to die." Upon hearing this, the wise man commented, "But young man, do you not realize that there are miles and miles of beach, and there are starfish all along every mile? You can't possibly make a difference." And at this, the young man bent down, picked up yet another starfish, and threw it to the sea. And as it hit the water, he turned to Lauren and he said, "It made a difference for that one." This is a story I like to remind myself when I'm feeling down or feel like I'm struggling and can't actually accomplish something, or I feel like what I'm doing isn't accomplishing anything. Unlike the great Lauren Isley, I'm not a world-renowned naturalist or an accredited marine biologist or even a scientist for that matter. My background is quite the opposite. I come from the world of communication arts and graphic design, and it wouldn't be until really later on in my career that I would start heading down a doctoral research path that would eventually spark my interest in community development. And then it would be even further down that road that I would go on to become a diver, and even much further that I would go on to start becoming a photographer and taking pictures. I mean, I could go on to tell you who I am or how I got here, or speak to my accolades or my ambassadorships. But I think what's more important to understand right now is that I'm a human. We all are. Every one of us tuning in today, unless we got some secret shark sneaking in from the underwater webcam. But in these past weeks, we've had some incredible humans giving talks on ocean stories. We've been really blessed by the reaction, not only from the speakers and wanting to give talks and wanting to take part in this project, but also by every one of you that has tuned in. The comments we've received have been, heartwarming and just beautiful. It's really amazing. We love to see them. We love to read them. It helps us remind us why we're doing what we do with Ocean Stories and why we do what we do with Dive Ninjas. We've heard these presentations from humans making massive differences around the world to protect and understand our oceans. And if you're like me, this kind of leaves you thinking, I wish I could make a difference like that. I wish I could do something. And the truth is, we all can. We just need to decide who we want to be. Do you want to be that wise old man in Lauren's story? Or would you like to be the young boy returning starfish to the ocean one by one? These last few weeks hosting Ocean Stories, there's a question that we see come up quite often. And it's one personally that I love to see. It's the question of how can I help? Or how can I get involved in your project? Or what can I do from home to support this? This is a question I struggled with for years finding the answer to. I've always wanted to help, but I didn't know how to start. And when I would find somewhere to start, a lot of times I would feel like that it wouldn't actually be making any impact, or that it wouldn't make any impact, so it wasn't worth starting. But you start to realize after working on these things that even the smallest efforts join together to make a massive impact. It's kind of like a strength in numbers thing, I've volunteered in many different projects in my life, from the aftermath of destruction with disaster relief, all the way to beautiful white sand beaches protecting turtle nests. A long time ago, I was given a second chance at life. And so I find it very important for me to pay this forward by helping others, whether it be humans or any other living creature. I'm kind of that weird guy that anyone that knows me well. I have an army of feral cats that live behind my house that I feed. And I stop to make friends with random stray animals on the street all the time to give them a little bit of water or some snacks. And I'll even spend hours in my house sometimes trying to coerce a fly to leave my apartment instead of trying to swat it and just killing it. I've always had this weird connection with animals, whether it be tiny insects or big fluffy ones. But it would take some time for this kind of ethos in me to align with my love for the ocean. And it's an alignment that was sparked from a simple idea, and an idea that would then grow into what is now Dive Ninja Expeditions. But I've been working in tourism now for the better part of the last decade or longer, and I've seen all types of businesses and practices. You've got those that are looking to do really good things, and then you've got those that are just trying to make it by and make some money and put food on the table. And then you have those that really don't care for anything except trying to make as much profit from an area by raping its natural resources. I'd heard of ecotours in my experience, but they were, in my experience, never that different than any other business. I was told once by a shop owner, a dive shop owner, that it was just a fancy label to appeal to the tree hugging crowd. And I always keep that with me and think it's kind of hilarious. But my experiences in the industry taught me a lot about dive businesses. Firstly, one, that I never want to own one. And secondly, if I ever did, I knew exactly what I didn't want it to be. So But on the other side of this, while volunteering on different projects, you'd always hear kind of the same song, no matter what organization you were working with, whether it was with animals or disaster relief or these kind of things. They always wish they had more funds to be able to do this or to do that, but the government has cut funding, or they need more to do more fundraisers, or less people donated this year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This got me thinking. There are a lot of businesses out there that support research and conservation purely through funding. I worked with a lot of them when I worked in advertising, different agencies and everything like that, big companies. They would donate a certain amount of money each year to help fund this or to help fund that. But what about the ones that were directly benefiting from the nature and animals that these organizations are working to protect? Do they help fund them? Surprisingly enough, in my experience, the answer is usually no. So I want to look at something real quick for a moment. I want you to think about something. A study published in the Journal of Marine Policy found that coral reefs generate $36 billion in global tourism value every year. That is more than some countries' entire GDP. And you're talking about an ecosystem that makes up less than 0.1% of the ocean floor. It's mind-blowing, and it makes you wonder, where does all this money go? What is it being done with? Another study conducted at Oceana concluded that shark-driven tourism in the US state of Florida generates $221 million each year. That is only the state of Florida. In comparison, exports for shark fins in the entire of the United States generated about $1 million in 2016. So I would say it's pretty safe to say they are definitely worth more alive than dead. And this doesn't even begin to include other shark diving hotspots like the Bahamas or French Polynesia, Palau, Maldives, et cetera, et cetera. What if we could find a way to tap into these funds for research and conservation? I mean, many eco tour operators around the world, they utilize tours to teach guests. It's what we do as dive professionals. We like to teach them about our local ecosystem, about the species, about the conservation and threats they face and these kind of things. But what if we could take that a step further? Could tourism essentially do more than just educate? Could it also potentially fund some conservation efforts or fund some research efforts? If we could use tourism to help fund efforts to research more into a species or ecosystem, and then that research could be utilized to better protect the species or the area that the tours are being run in. So in turn, it could kind of come full circle. By helping tourism and helping the local community through protecting the species that make the tours so special to begin with. Then we can keep experiencing these incredible encounters and animals that give us all these great memories for generations to come, instead of just purely profiting on them, which could then also stimulate growth in, say, the local economy, or inspire others in the community to be able to, start building pride into it and building an economic value behind it and everything like that. So they want to do more and they want to get more involved. It could essentially create a huge ripple effect of benefits outside of just these direct tours. But like anything, it would need to be done right. I mean, this is essentially just a dream at the moment. And the one thing we need to remember from the beginning is that these are businesses. Eco tour operators or tour operators in general is a business. So they need profit to stay alive and to keep those ripples moving outward. But we also need to realize that we aren't going to get rich doing this. I think that is the hardest part for most. I know I speak for most instructors and guides out there, that's not why we got into diving. It's not why we got into free diving or snorkeling or any of these things. But profit is necessary, especially when it comes to a new business. And it's very fearful to want to have to give away some of your profits. I know with Dive Ninjas, when I tell guests that we give away half of our profits on some expeditions, they look at me like I'm crazy. But like I said, I think I speak for most dive pros and guides and all this, but then I say that getting rich is not why we work in tourism, right? So once you can cross that hurdle, we need to look at how we can create the project. For us, for Dive Ninjas, we've kind of created our own formula. And there's some key aspects that we focus on when we're building a new project or revisiting a project that's already built and trying to change it and make it better. And these come from my experience. And it's going to be different for different areas, different communities, these kind of things. But I try to make it as basic as possible. You know what I mean? First, for us, we start with the exploration and the research, not just of the encounter or the animal, but a more holistic approach. We need to understand the area, the community that's tied to that area, the culture that's tied to that community, the ecosystems that thrive in that community, the history, the biodiversity, pretty much anything we can understand about that area so that we can kind of integrate ourselves into it. And it's a lot of research, but for me, that's okay, because I'm kind of a big nerd and I can spend hours just on satellite maps or on YouTube videos for God knows way too much time. But from there, we start to partner with different researchers. And we look for projects that are already going on and things that are working. And then with these researchers, we kind of will make a deal with them. And the idea is that they can work with us on a project, and we will, in exchange, donate a portion of the profits from these expeditions to help fund their projects, to fund more research, fund more conservation efforts. But not just that, we pay the scientists as a guide. We hire them as an employee, essentially, for these specific things. This way, they're also generating some income for themselves. I mean, they can't live off of their research funds. They are humans. They need to have a way to pay rent, a way to put food on the table, and everything like that. So if we can, help make their lives a little bit easier while being able to fund the research, it works better, Then from there, we'll work with the scientists, and we try to develop species-specific citizen science projects. But projects that still actually benefit the research they're doing or benefit other research being done in the area, as well as benefiting conservation efforts. From here, we kind of have to take the project and start to intertwine it into the local community. We need to do this as much as possible. If you want a project to be sustainable in any community, it needs to involve the community. You need to always involve the local stakeholders and the people that live here. Otherwise, you're just an outsider trying to make change, and it's never going to be sustainable unless you get them involved. From here too, then we go on to develop educational programs that we're going to utilize to teach the guests about the area, about the species, about the research being done, et cetera, et cetera. So we're actually, learning and everything. And then when all this is kind of put together, we still have one major step. And then we need to kind of step back and look at how we can minimize our impact on the environment and the area that we're working on. Because if we're creating a negative impact on the area, then we're the problem, not the solution. So we need to kind of go back through the tours, see how we can minimize this and everything like that. This is something we do every year. We reevaluate tours and projects to see, okay, how can we make this, less of an impact or different? For instance, with the Marlin this year, we've changed it a lot. We've actually changed our program a lot from what we've been doing the last 2 years to something very different, to a much smaller tour, much smaller, more intimate project and everything like that, to lower our impact on the environment and on the animals and these kind of things, as well as making it a better experience for the guests. So before I can kind of go further, I just want to pause for a second and talk about this term, citizen science. This is something you're going to hear me mention a lot, and if you know me, you've probably heard me mention it a lot. And I've come to understand it's not as well known as I may have thought it was. So what is citizen science? Maybe some of you have been on a citizen science trip before, or maybe you've gone on citizen science projects. Well, citizen science, the dictionary definition, is the collection and analysis of scientific data relating to the natural world by members of the general public as part of a collaborative project with professional scientists. This is the focus of what we do at Dive Ninja. We try to bridge that gap between marine research, conservation, and tourism to create what we call true ecotourism platforms. And today I'd like to share some of my favorites with you about how they work and how they work to protect the species involved. So I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. I want you to imagine Baja. What do you see? You see blue oceans, sharks, mantas, maybe tornadoes of jacks in Cabo Como, or mischievous sea lions in Los Cabos. For me, Baja is a land of contrasts. It is a place where there is some of the best shark diving I've seen in the world, but also a massive shark fishing industry. It's a place where I can witness thousands of rays beautifully soaring together underwater, but can also watch them ripped from the sea and illegally chopped to pieces. But it's not only these painful contrasts in Baja. There's a lot of beautiful contrasts in Baja too. Baja is filled with these kind of polar opposites. This photo here is from the mangroves in Bahia Magdalena. It's this area where you get these really lush green mangroves that smash directly into flowing white sand dunes. The mangroves are one of the most important ecosystems here in Baja, but yet they directly connect to miles of barren flowing sand dunes populated by only the occasional coyote or desert rabbit or small insects. It's a very bizarre place that, unless you've seen it with your own eyes, it's really hard to understand and the beauty of it. It's also a place where we have these, ragged desert mountains that kind of reach down from the sky to meet vivid blue waters that are just filled with life. And it's what lies within these waters that has made Baja so famous these last years. But it's so much more than that. It's also the humans that are tied to these waters, the ones fighting to protect them and working tirelessly to understand their inhabitants. These are the people that are the true unsung heroes of Baja. There are so many incredible stories that I've heard from this narrow peninsula that we could honestly do months of Ocean Stories talks just on people in Baja. It's these incredible people that were the inspiration for Ocean Stories and what we do at Dive Ninjas. It's what keeps us moving forward. I mean, normal humans taking a small step forward to protect what they love. Whether it be the hotel manager that created a giant grassroots movement to clean beaches and arroyos of plastic and garbage before it ended up in the ocean, or a tour guide that uses her free time to teach school children about zero waste initiatives, or a restaurant owner working tirelessly to stop dolphins from being held in captivity, or a whale watching guide who decided to take a stand against the bad tourism practices she was seeing. And this would go on to then inspire a movement of people conducting environmental surveillance. It's this kind of passion that sparked what we do at Dive Ninjas and continues to fuel that fire. So I'd like to share with you just 4 of the projects we are passionate about at Dive Ninjas and the reasoning behind what we do. The first, and is probably one of my favorite encounters in Baja, is something we've been working on for quite a few years with marine scientist Marta Palacios. This is a project we started early on in Dive Ninjas when we first started building the company and everything like that. And it's something we continue to work with. It's something I continue to spend each season exploring new areas, searching for larger aggregations and all that. But it's the modular aggregation. Marta that works with us, she's currently working on her doctoral research. She's brilliant. She's such an amazing person to work with. She just has this wonderful energy about her. Although we don't see eye to eye on my nickname for these awesome creatures yet, but I'm confident one day I'll be able to convert her over. So what are these? This is Mabula monkeyiana, or the pygmy devil ray, or monk's devil ray. Every year in the springtime, they begin to congregate around Baja California. It creates what's known as supposed to be the largest ray aggregation on Earth. We get multiple schools of them that can be estimated upwards of 10,000 individuals in a school. And we're not talking one giant school, you're talking multiple schools all over in different areas in Baja. It's really incredible experience. But it's also suspected that this species has undergone a population reduction of almost up to 49% over the last 3 generations, which is about the last 38 years. And it's suspected that the population is going to go down even more over the next 3 generations. There's a lot of reasonings behind this, like they have one of the lowest fecundity rates of marine species. It's also estimated that they only give birth to 1 pup every 3 to 5 years. But the hardest part is a lot of facts about these animals, these incredible animals, are still unknown. I mean, there's a lot of information is even lacking. For example, we don't know how long they live for, or what age they become mature adults, or how long the gestation period is, or any of these kind of things. There is a gap there. And this is something Marta's working on trying to fill. So with the projects, we've developed a thing with a citizen science expedition with Marta. And it looks to, one, discovering nurseries. A couple years ago, Marta was able to discover the first modular nursery here in Baja. And it's now trying, the expeditions are aiming to look for more. It's also looking to understand the aggregation patterns and migration movements, as well as the population estimates, so we can give a better idea of what's going on with them. And then trying to utilize that information to better protect them, whether it be through management plans or building more sanctuaries to protect them, to stop the illegal fishing of them, and these kind of things. Beyond that, the next one is something new that we've been working on. It's going to be getting released in about 2 weeks from now, and the first public trips will start in March 2021. So I can't say a ton about this one because it's technically still a bit of a secret and not really public knowledge, but let's give you a little preview of what we have. First, to start, Baja is home to over 14 species of sharks. We've got mako sharks, blue sharks, smooth hammerheads, scalloped hammerheads, silkies, threshers, great whites, tigers, bulls, lemons, black tips, white tip reef sharks, whale sharks, and even more. Even in 2018, just a couple years ago, we've seen the first small-toothed sand tigers ever in Cabo San Lucas. They were around for a few weeks. Really bizarre experience. I haven't seen them since, but you know, there's always things being found, new things being found. My favorite of these, though, is the mako. The mako is one of my favorite sharks. Recently, it's been upgraded to endangered. The mako is the fastest shark. It's able to reach speeds of 74 kilometers an hour. And it can jump to heights of up to 9 meters out of the ocean. That's mind-blowing. But for me, it's just the look of the mako. They just look like they're built for speed. And when you see them in the water, the color that they have is just mind-blowing. It's just something magical about it. But their population, the estimated median reduction is about 46%, but with the highest probability of up to 79% in some areas over the last 3 generations. So that's in the last 72 to 75 years. In some areas, their population's been reduced by almost 80%. It's mind-blowing. Well, with this, even in Baja, you've got a lot of really great organizations. It's one of the things we're really, that's special about here. You've got great organizations like Leos Cacuna, Nakawe Project, Mexico Azul, CICIMAR, et cetera, et cetera. And these guys are all working on different projects to understand the different sharks and rays that we have here, as well as how to protect them. It's really incredible. I mean, some of the amazing minds that are here. We've seen some of them here on Ocean Stories already these last weeks. But yeah, so the idea behind this project is to better understand the populations and understand their migrations through Baja, as well as working to figure out how we can help protect them, whether it be through management plans or community outreach in shark fishing areas and these kind of things, or through education and all that. Like I said, I can't talk too much about it, so I'm going to leave it for there, and you'll see more online in a couple weeks. The next one is, for me, one of my favorite animal encounters in the world, hands down. The diving with striped marlin or free diving with them is insane. You're talking an animal that is just built for speed and built for hunting. This is a project that we've designed with Nakawe. It's something we've been working on with them in Bahia Magdalena. So you get these massive bait balls off the coast of Mag Bay, well, off the coast of Baja in general, in different areas and everything like that. And you get these animals hunting with sea lion, these striped marlin, but you also see sailfish, you see some whales, you see dolphins, all sorts of crazy things. But the marlin are the star of the show. These guys are able to almost reach 80 kilometers an hour in the blink of an eye. It is mind-blowing to see them take off, and unreal to see them hunt. It's crazy to see them hunting together with sea lions, working cooperatively and all that kind of stuff. But Baja also has a lot of darker sides when it comes to marlin. For one, Los Cabos in general is one of the sport fishing capitals of the world. We have some of the largest competitions in the entire world. You've got one here where the first prize is $4 million. It's mind-blowing. So it's a very big area for sport fishing, but it's also a big area for a lot of illegal fishing. With marlin, they do this illegal harpoon fishing and everything like that. They've been trying to crack down on in the last few years. And it's amazing to see that even the sport fishing guys are actually working to try and stop that. It's really, really awesome to see. But globally, it's estimated that the marlin species, the striped marlin species, has declined by 20 to 25% over the last 3 generations. This species is not considered to be well managed, and we really need to update the stock assessments around the world, especially in the Indian Ocean and the Northwest Pacific. Current estimates put the population reduced by over 40% in some stocks, with estimates reaching upwards of 90% in the Indian Ocean. Massive, massive cut in stock. When we're talking about apex predators here, their main threat is essentially us as humans. The largest problem is being caught as bycatch. This happens with longline fisheries that are targeting tuna and such. Also in Mexico, we see them caught illegally for food use. Striped marlin is sold under a variety of different names, like tuna, yellowtail, these kind of different things. A lot of time you think you may be ordering tuna, but you're actually getting marlin. And there are even some restaurants here in markets that actually don't even care about mislabeling it. They straight up label it as marlin, which is a total disregard to the current laws that forbid the sale of it. We can see it here in Cabo alone. You walk down the street and you'll see places that say marlin tacos and marlin steaks and these kind of things. It's mind-blowing to me because it's illegal. It's massively illegal. So with this project that we started with Nakawe and we were working with them and everything like that, the idea was to build, the first project was building a citizen science project that would help to build population estimates and census of what's going on and what we're seeing. This year, we've teamed up with a guy named Rogelio, who's one of the directors at CCMAR, to expand the citizen science aspects and start looking into larval biology and plankton drags and more population estimates, as well as satellite tagging and all these cool things. So lots of really cool stuff coming this coming season in October, November this year. And the idea is to use get as much information we can and help work with these scientists and everything like that, so we can utilize this to protect them, to hopefully build a sanctuary for this special event that happens every year, to stop, illegal fishing in there, stop even the crazy sport fishing. I mean, we had one day last season where they came to beat a sport fishing competition and caught 330 marlin on one boat in one day. It's mind blowing, you know what I mean? Just to break a record. I don't understand that. For me, it's something I don't think I can ever grasp. But one of the really cool things that came out of the last season is this project that Reggie and Pelagic Life and the captains we work with and all them have kind of been coming together, and we've started a talk. With the whole COVID-19 situation, we thought this was our first meeting was supposed to happen 2 weeks ago and everything like that. And I thought it was gonna get canceled with everything going on. And I was like, this sucks. Like, there's been so much work going into this and it's gonna get all delayed and pushed back and everything. But amazingly, we were able to get everyone together on Zoom, like 20 people together on Zoom, having this meeting and everything like that. And start moving forward with creating a management plan and creating guidelines for the operators and all these things. And you've got some really incredible organizations involved in this. I mean, Nakawe, Peleos Kakuna, Pelagic Life, the captains, the local team and everything there, as well as a lot of the operators that have been working up there for a while and everything like that, that all want to work together to protect this and to better understand what's going on there and be able to keep it so that more generations can see this. And we're blessed to have these kind of incredible people that really want to do this and want to move forward with it. The last one I'm going to talk about is one we call gentle giants. The gentle giants is a term for, say, which is now one expedition that is kind of split into two, but it's a term we utilize for basically all the whales in Baja. Right here is a baby gray whale, a very young calf. He's riding on the back of his mother as she's going underneath our boat. Baja plays host to 1/3 of the world's marine mammals throughout different times in the year. We've got gray whales, humpback whales, fin whales, sperm whales, minke whales, hybrid whales, blue whales, as well as orcas, multiple different species of dolphins, sea lions, seals, all sorts of stuff. They're all kind of here in Baja in different areas and everything like that. We work with them all in different ways. With the whales, we have essentially 3 different projects, and I'll kind of run through them quick because they're getting a bit long. But we have a humpback whale project that we call Whale Defender, which is a project we built with Sea Shepherd Mexico. And the idea there is it's a citizen science project that takes guests out on a half-day tour to experience the whales. But before that, they also learn about the whales, why they're here, the threats they're facing, and all that. But then we go out to help collect data for some of the research projects that we're tied to, whether it be through whale identification, through census data, and all these kind of things. But then before this, we also empower the guests while they're on the tour to look for bad practices. Look for boats that are too close to the whales. Look for boats that are crossing in front of them, or fishing boats in the marine protected area. And if you see these things, take pictures. Give us the photos. And we try to get as much of the photos and these kind of things together so that we can report it to Profepa, and they can essentially be like citizen police for the day and help us to protect the area and get involved actually in protecting the area while they're on vacation. Then the other one is a bigger tour. It's an 8-day project that we do where in 8 days in Baja, you can see 5 of the world's largest animals. You've got humpback whales, blue whales, gray whales, whale sharks, and fin whales, all in the course of one trip. You can basically take off some of the largest animals in the world all in one trip that can happen only in a special little 4-week window every year. And then you have a new one, my favorite, the gray whales of Baja. Gray whales have a really incredible encounter. I don't know if anyone out there today has been with the gray whales in Baja, but it's something that is just mind-blowing and boggles your mind to understand. The locals, they call them devilfish, or that was the old nickname back in the day. But it's incredible that we have these animals that were almost hunted to extinction last century, not very long ago. And now they've created this almost truce with the locals and everything like that. And they've become these friendly animals, this really curious animal that seeks out interactions with humans. And it's something these guys only do here in Baja. When they go back north to Alaska and all that, they never do these things. But when they're in the lagoons,
they'll come right up to the boats. They'll come up, they'll push into the boats, they'll stick their head out of the water and pop up, do a spy hop, like not even a meter away. And you see their eye looking at you, and then they go back into the water and they'll go under the boat and come up the other side like they're playing peekaboo with you. And if you take your hands and you place them in the water and like splash them, you'll see the whales come up underneath them. They'll look at your hands, like they clearly look right at them, and then bring their head up out of the water, place their head on your hand, and then move their head as if like it's a dog trying to get you to scratch behind its ears or something. It is a mind-blowing experience. I've even seen mothers where they lift their young calves on their nose up out of the water to show you, almost like it's the Lion King, and they're like, here, look at my beautiful baby, isn't it amazing? It's such a strange interaction encounter they have with humans. And to think that, you know, not very long ago, the fishermen and the locals were deathly afraid of these animals, because when they were, back in the day, the stories when they used to hunt them is the gray whales would attack the ships and they would try to sink them and try to kill the sailors and these kind of things. And now, you know, fast forward, you have this kind of completely different thing. And the locals are super protective over them, the fishermen, and most of these guys are fishermen 9 months a year, and they're gray whale guides 3 months a year. And they're very protective over the whales, they're very protective over them being here and everything like that. And they want to work to protect them, they want to keep them safe and everything like that. So we've got a few different, you know, projects that we work with them, but the main goals of these 3 different projects is one, to you know, work on whale protection in the area, in different areas, as well as enforcing the MPA rules and regulations through citizen sciencing, citizens policing, or, you know, citizen surveillance. We also collect data and everything like that, looking at whale migration and population studies, as well as looking at one of the researchers we work with, Maru, who's going to be with us on the gray whale expeditions next year. She looks a lot into ecotourism. How does it affect humans? How does it affect animals? Is it good? Is it bad? Are there ways to make it better? And these kind of different things. We also look to understand these weird behavior that we see with the gray whales, as well as you have a lot of organizations here that are working together to try and create marine mammal sanctuaries in different areas in Baja. One of the most important ones for me is the one here that's in Los Cabos, which is being pushed by Prima right now, which is an incredible research organization here in Baja. So let's be realistic. It's not like these tours are going to generate millions of dollars in income, which could then, say, be donated to further research and conservation projects. We're always going to be limited in resources and by the ability to scale this project without having negative impacts on the environments you're trying to protect. But every little bit does help. Last season's Marlin expeditions, for instance, they raised about $10,000 in funds to help fund the Kauai project to continue their conservation work with marlin and sharks in Baja. And if more operators donated to programs together, we could raise a substantial amount. We could raise lots of money and fund more projects and do these things. But these expeditions are about much more than just trying to raise money. It's about the guests that were inspired by their time with us and then went on to start making changes in their hometown. We had a guest, for instance, join us on one of our trips who works in a hospital, and she went home to start a campaign to try and reduce disposable plastics being used in the hospital. And it actually went through, and it's a project she's built and everything like that. And we've actually shared with another guest who works in the same position in another part of the country and all that. Or about the other guests that like started beach cleanups in their hometown, or the multiple guests that have gone on to find local conservation programs in their area that they could join or volunteer or donate to and are actively working with these projects. But not just the guests, it doesn't just end there. It's also the local community that gets involved in these projects. They start to come together and protect these incredible animals and these ecosystems in their own backyard. And I absolutely love that. I love the passion of our captains. The guys we work with in these areas are mind-blowing. And to think that many of them come from a commercial fishing background. I mean, these guys were ripping fish out of the sea 5 years ago. And now they're running eco tours and running projects and all this. It is beautiful. And the passion and love they have for the ocean is just mind-blowing. So we might not be able to save everyone, you know what I mean? But we can try and make a difference one by one. We just need to make a decision to make that small step forward. Even something as small as choosing which tour operator we use for your well-deserved vacation or can help make a difference, or picking up one starfish and throwing it back into the ocean. And as you can see, these small steps have far-reaching ripple effects. So I ask, what is your next step? Do you want to be the old man in Lauren's story? Or would you like to be the young boy that's returning starfish to the ocean one by one? So thank you for listening to my story today. I'm sorry that it ran a little longer than expected.
But we can open up the floor if anyone has any questions or anything like that. We can start with some questions and all that.
Thank you for that inspiring talk, Jay. So if you guys have any questions, just post them in the Q&A and I'll start reading them to Jay. All right, so Julia says, hey Jay, thank you so much for your talk and your work. I love ocean stories so much. I realized yesterday that I'm stuck in my head about one issue with diving and ecotourism and such. I was wondering if you could comment on it. As a dive master, I'm an active part of the tourism industry, but that industry promotes flying long ways to faraway exotic places, which promotes climate change and kills off the oceans that I love so much. Have you wrestled with this at all? Thanks for what you do.
Yeah, so hi Julia. This is, we'll say, is not an easy question to answer. And there's no, I say, it's not black and white. You know what I mean? There's no easy way to look at it. You mean, we shouldn't be, you know, contributing by going constantly flying nonstop to all these different places and all these kind of things. There was an article, I wish I can remember it right now. I'll have to try and look it up, and if you send us an email or a message at Dive Images, I can try to send you the article. But it explores this concept a lot, and it looks at, like, I mean, for one, in flying and all these things, taking, say, 1 trip a year or 2 trips a year or 3 trips a year or something like that, versus like these, you know, corporate officials and these kind of things that are doing 100 trips a year. But then also looking at like the positive side of that. If you're going to an area and you're contributing to helping, you know, rebuild that area or conserve that area or protect that area and these kind of things, you have this, you know, other side to it. Like, yes, it's negative by going there, but should people never travel then? Should we not experience things on the other side of the world? Should we not help projects on the other side of the world? Because we shouldn't travel because it's contributing to it. We can also look at becoming carbon neutral by, you know, buying offsets, whether it be by through planting trees or through any of these big organizations that do a lot of carbon offsets and all that kind of stuff. So there's like I said, there's not a clear-cut answer, and it's something we think about and we look at and everything like that. But I think it's trying to, if you're making your travel worth it, and whether you're offsetting your carbon or anything like that, or contributing to other research projects, then you can try to find this balance. You know what I mean? And not making, say, unnecessary travel. You know, like one of the biggest contributors to climate change with flying is these local regional flights. Is like, you know, flying from New York to Washington, D.C. just to catch a meeting when you could easily take a train or take a bus or something like that. That's one of the big ones. You know what I mean? So I was looking at different ways like that.
All right. So the next question we have is Sue asks, Baja has some interest, has been increasingly gaining fame for its amazing ocean encounters with lots of exposure in the media in the last year or so. Do you worry about what this would eventually have a negative impact to the unsustainable tourist volume and practices?
Yeah, so this is something, one of the reasons we do what we do. If you look at any of the projects we work on and everything like that, we're trying to, like, one, they're very small. We try to keep the projects really small in the amount of guests that can access them. One of the good sides of it is that we have, most of this stuff is taking place in remote areas. They're not easy to get to, so that kind of cuts tourism. But the other idea is trying to get ahead of that curve, you know what I mean? If we can get management plans in place and create sanctuaries and get guidelines and regulations in place before it gets overrun, before people start, you know, millions of people start showing up and all these kind of things, then it makes it much better. You know what I mean? Is we're ahead of what's ultimately going to come down the road. In other places like Los Cabos, which is a gigantic tourist destination, you mean you get millions and millions of people that come through the Cabo airport every year, is now trying to figure out now, you know, we're years past that, you know what I mean? So now we need to figure out is how do we fix it now? And there's, you know, a lot of different ways of looking at trying to get things instated, but it's much harder to fix the problem after the fact than it is to plan for it and try to limit it and make it better in advance, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Cool. So Christine asks, how can we as the people that are watching these ocean stories make a donation towards the continuation of these phenomenal stories? I know for me, it has enhanced my story to begin more research into taking educational courses towards marine conservation.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Christine. It's really nice to hear, and it's great to hear. So we've had quite a few people asking this and how they can donate and everything. There's actually a question in the poll today about it. So originally Ocean Stories was funded by Dive Ninjas, and we're still funding it. But now there's a slight of an issue, is we weren't expecting the travel restrictions and bans to continue as far out as they look like they're going to. So in running the Zoom platform and all this kind of stuff is very expensive, plus the time and effort that our staff is putting into building everything and keeping everything updated and all that. A lot of people have been asking how they can help or how they can donate and everything like that. We put a page on our website. It's about to go up in the next day or so. We'll probably send it out as an email to everyone that's watched Ocean Stories before. But we're basically creating a kind of virtual tip jar. And if you like what we're doing on Ocean Stories and you want to help support it or anything like that, you can throw a couple dollars in the tip jar, and it goes to keeping Ocean Stories running and keeping our team being able to work on these projects and all that kind of stuff, and keeping Ocean Stories going for as long as we can. So thank you for that.
Definitely. Thank you. So Caesar asks, hi man, totally relate with you on the fact that sometimes we feel that we can't make a huge impact by making small activities, but in fact those activities combined are the ones that make a big impact in society as well as nature. I know politics are always a complicated subject, but have you ever tried to get funds from the local or the state government in Baja, not just from the area of CONAP, but from other government institutions like Simirat or Conapio?
Yeah, Caesar, thank you, brother. I totally feel you there, and awesome to hear you feel the same. We looked at different things. With what we try to keep it, with our expeditions at least, we try to keep them self-sustainable within themselves, because I mean, we are a business, we're not an NGO or anything like that, so it's hard for us to say approach trying to get funds. But like I've always thought of it as like, it's, there's not really money in the Mexican government really to push these kind of things, and that the money that they do have, the little money that's left, would be better spent to research and funding other projects and these kind of things. But recently, like, we have a coral restoration project that's being built in Cabo right now. Well, it's just in its infancy, and hopefully will start in the next few months or anything like that. And Sea Shepherd's been working with CONAMP and different organizations in Mexico to try to get grants. And I mean, for me, honestly, when they told me this, I thought it was a pipe dream, and I was already trying to figure out how Dive Ninjas could raise money through maybe an ecotourism project or something like that to get this, coral restoration project in place. But they came back. We actually got a pretty large grant to help fund the coral restoration project in Cabo, and that's, for me, was amazing. I was like, wow, like, I couldn't believe it. But for us, yeah, like we prefer to try and stay self-sustainable within it, because we are a business, and I don't want to be taking funding from the government that could be better used in other places, where we can run these tours and generate funding from that towards these projects and everything. I'd rather the funding be going to the scientists, say, working on the project, or to the conservation organization or whatever it is, than it going to us, the Dive Ninjas or anything like that.
Very cool. All right, so Vinny has a really cool request. He says, thank you, Ellen and Jay. I enjoyed Karen's webinar yesterday and yours as well today. Now that digital communication has come of age, is your organization considering virtual reality or guided video tours for those who are unfit because of age, disability, etc., to come along on tours in person?
It's funny that you asked this, Vinny. We have a new project that'll be coming out in the next few weeks. We'll be announcing with a guy named Rick Miscouth. Rick's going to be giving a talk actually on Ocean Stories in about 2 weeks or something like that, if we keep the program running and all that. Rick's background, what he does is he actually creates these virtual reality programs and everything of the underwater world. He's done some amazing, amazing work with different projects around the world. He's also the founder of 22 Degrees, which is a really cool, sustainable brand that's doing like jackets and mesh bags for diving and these kind of things. But yeah, I was speaking with him the other day, and we were talking about some of the VR projects he's worked on and things like that. And then I was reading an article about tourism, like tours, doing these kind of virtual tours and everything like that, and it sparked an idea in me. I was like, it would be incredible if we could, bring the ocean directly to people through VR. I mean, it's something, obviously we'd need a lot more collaborators and people that know this. I know nothing about creating VR. That is way outside my realm of expertise. But yeah, it's something I was thinking of the other day. That really cool idea, and I think, now that more people are kind of introduced to digital communication and stuff, it would be like an incredible experience to be able to offer someone, you know, to put on some VR glasses and see what it would be like to, you know, be in the water with 40 marlin around a bait ball, or to swim with, you know, 10,000 mobula rays. That's a really incredible idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be super awesome. I know a lot of people that would be interested in that. So I
Awesome.
think that's all for the questions. I think you were super.
The last one,
Oh, sorry.
there's one more from Clement. So just to answer, Clement asked, he said he had to leave, and that would it be possible to see the videos afterwards or anything like that? Yeah, so for those that are watching, all the ocean stories are put on the same page that you registered on. If you scroll down the page, you can watch the recordings of every ocean story we've ever done. In the coming weeks, we're actually starting to run out of space with our Zoom account, and we don't have the money to upgrade it anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to move the older ones to YouTube and slowly move them over one by one. So they'll be on the Dive Ninjas YouTube channel in the near future too.
So we have one more question come in. Sue asks, what can we do to be active citizens while in lockdown?
Active citizen scientists. That's a really good question. I think, I'm not sure of any science activities you can do at home. I've heard of ones where you can help to analyze pictures and data and everything like that. I don't know any specifics on it, but I have heard of ones where like it's crowdsourcing imaging, where you kind of just flipping through images and looking at things to see if it compares to a sample image or something like that. Other things, I mean, some projects you want to support to see if they need help at home. You know, say, you know, contact an organization that's working with photo ID or whatever it is, and offer you know, hey, I've got all this extra time. Can I help you with anything? You know what I mean? Whatever it might be. Whether it be helping them sort through image, or helping them, you know, with some documents and paperwork, or, you know, any of these kind of things that help relieve some of the work off them so they can do more. So I would just reach out to organizations you talk to and these kind of things, and see what you can do to help them.
Yeah, I think it's about finding that one thing you're good at, whether it's you're an artist or you're a lawyer or you're a mathematician or accountant, and just offering your services to businesses and seeing how you can help them in times like these. All right, thank you guys so much for coming, and hopefully you can join our coral conservation talk, which is going to begin in about 30 minutes. Otherwise, we'll see you on April 20th with Matt from Ocean Culture Life.
Awesome. Thank you for stopping in today, everybody. And next week, Ellen will be starting to host on Monday, so Jay will not be around for a couple days. So she's going to be taking the chair, and I'll see you guys as soon as I get back. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for stopping in.